Have you ever noticed how a simple shape, a color, or a mark can trigger a feeling without any words being spoken? You walk into a room, and something about a circle on the wall feels safe. A triangle feels sharp, maybe even dangerous. A snake coiled around a staff, or an eye inside a pyramid. Why do these things stir something deep inside us? What if I told you that your mind already understands a language more ancient than speech? A language that speaks directly to your subconscious. That language is the language of symbols. We live in a world saturated with symbols. From corporate logos to religious icons, traffic signs to tattoos, we're surrounded by shapes and images that speak to us without explanation. But the real mystery isn't just in what they represent. It's why we feel them. Why do they reach so deep? And why do we recognize them, even when we don't fully understand them? You see, the mind doesn't just process symbols. It lives through them. Symbols are shortcuts, neural keys that open entire emotional and psychological experiences. They bypass logic. They don't ask for permission. They go straight to the gut. Take, for example, the circle. Across cultures and throughout history, the circle represents unity, wholeness, and eternity. No beginning, no end. The sun, the moon, the eye, a wedding ring. Even in meditation, we imagine circles of light or energy. Why? Because your brain interprets that shape as a container for meaning. It suggests safety, inclusion, and the infinite. And it doesn't matter if you're in India, Peru, or Sweden. The symbolism is almost universal. This isn't a coincidence. It's cognition. And then there's the triangle. A symbol of strength, but also instability. Pointed edges, sharp direction. In alchemy, it meant fire. In religion, the Holy Trinity. In science, it's the shape that holds weight. Our minds assign intensity to it. Why does a warning sign take the form of a triangle? Because your subconscious knows it needs to pay attention. The cross, the spiral, the square, these aren't just shapes. They are archetypes, forms loaded with ancestral memory. The psychologist Carl Jung called these primordial images, echoes from the collective unconscious. In his view, symbols are how the deeper self communicates with the waking mind. Dreams are full of them, and so is art, myth, architecture, even brand design. Think about the serpent. Often seen as evil in Western tradition, but in other cultures, it's wisdom, transformation, and renewal. Shedding its skin, a cycle of rebirth. Why is this duality encoded into the same symbol? Because symbols aren't fixed. They evolve, adapt, and carry multiple meanings at once. And your mind knows how to hold all those meanings without needing them spelled out. We don't just see symbols, we feel them. They awaken emotional truths we haven't articulated. They live in our intuition. That's why even a simple image can stir complex reactions. A skull isn't just a skull. It's death, danger, the unknown. But also, in some cultures, it's a celebration, remembrance, and the honoring of life. What fascinates me is how early we begin to absorb this language. Before we learn to read or speak, we recognize shapes. Infants respond to eyes, faces, and contrasts. As children, we draw suns, hearts, stars, long before we write letters. The symbolic mind comes online first. It's the native tongue of the psyche. And as we grow, we inherit a cultural symbolic code. Religious icons, national flags, wedding dresses, crowns. All these carry inherited emotional weight. A red heart doesn't just mean love because someone told you. It means love because everything in you feels it. But the symbols we carry aren't just societal. They're personal. a necklace from a grandmother, a scar from a childhood injury, a tree you always returned to when you needed peace. These become symbols with private meaning, anchors of identity and memory, and they shape how you navigate life. They form an inner map of what matters to you. So here's the question. If your mind is constantly reading symbols, how many of them are shaping your thoughts without your awareness? How many of your fears, desires, or beliefs are being activated not by facts, but by images that trigger associations deep within you? Advertisers know. Brands don't just sell products, they sell identity through symbols. A bitten apple, a golden arch, a swoosh. You know them instantly, but you also feel them. They say something. This is modern. This is cool. This is comfort. You don't read that. You absorb it, and it gets deeper. Spiritual traditions across the globe rely on symbolic systems. The tree of life, the mandala, the yin and yang. These symbols aren't just metaphors. They're tools, doorways into altered states of consciousness. You meditate on them, dream with them, even use them to reprogram your subconscious. They carry energy. They resonate. In Tibetan Buddhism, mandalas are intricate symbolic maps of the cosmos, but they're also psychological tools. The process of creating and then destroying them is meant to awaken impermanence and detachment. In Christian tradition, the cross isn't just a historical artifact. It's a symbol of sacrifice, transformation, and redemption. It's a portal for meditation. Even ancient languages were symbolic. Egyptian hieroglyphs weren't phonetic letters, they were images infused with meaning. The eye didn't just mean vision, it meant divine perception, protection, awareness. It meant presence beyond the physical, and we still carry echoes of that today. Ever wonder why the symbol of an eye watching from a triangle on a dollar bill sends shivers? That's ancient coding in action. Symbols go beyond culture. They belong to the nervous system. To dream of falling, flying, or being chased isn't random. These are symbolic scripts written into human biology. And the deeper you go, the more you realize. Your inner world doesn't think in words. It thinks in symbols. So why does this matter? Because if you learn to consciously read the language of symbols, you begin to decode the patterns shaping your emotions, decisions, and beliefs. You stop being unconsciously programmed by them and start using them intentionally. This is the power of symbolic literacy. When you recognize the serpent, the spiral, the tower, or the bridge in your dreams or life, you can ask, what's my psyche trying to show me? When a symbol appears repeatedly, it's not coincidence. It's a message. A pattern is looking for your attention. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Symbols are one of the ways the unconscious speaks, but only if we're listening. The problem is, most people don't listen. They see symbols as decorative or superstition. But the truth is, symbols are the software of the psyche. They shape how you see yourself and the world. And if you ignore that, you risk living someone else's story, someone else's myth, without even knowing it. That's why mythology matters. Why rituals, stories, and sacred art have survived for millennia. Not because they're old, but because they're encoded with symbolic truth that speaks across time. That's why you can read an ancient myth and feel like it's speaking directly to your struggle today. The outer details may change, but the inner symbols remain. There's a reason why people tattoo symbols onto their skin. Why do they wear crosses or talismans? Why they draw symbols into their journals, meditate on them, or paint them in dreams. It's not vanity, it's memory, a way to anchor the inner world in the outer one. And here's the twist. Symbols don't just reflect who you are, they shape who you become. When you focus on certain symbols, you activate parts of the psyche associated with them. Meditating on the phoenix might awaken resilience. The labyrinth might guide you through inner confusion. The sword might give you clarity to cut through lies. These aren't fantasies. They're psychological technologies. So, how do you start reading this hidden language consciously instead of letting it program you from the shadows? First, you build your personal symbol dictionary, not a general one from a book, your own. For the next 21 days, every time a symbol repeats in your dreams, in your feed, on the street, in conversations, write it down. Don't judge it, just collect it. The tree, the eye, the bridge, the wolf, the locked door, the ocean. Then ask yourself 3 questions. Where did I first meet this symbol in my life? What emotion does it evoke instantly before I rationalize it? And what decision in my life right now does this symbol seem to be pushing me toward or warning me away from? Second, observe your emotional spikes. Symbols trigger state changes faster than arguments do. A cross around someone's neck, a ring on a finger, a uniform, a crown logo. Notice when your body reacts before your mind catches up. That's the signal that a symbol has touched a live wire in the unconscious. Track those reactions. They're maps to unresolved beliefs, unhealed wounds, or unrealized potentials. Third, dream journaling. Your dreams are the nightly cinema of your symbolic mind. Don't waste the free psychoanalysis. When you wake up, don't try to interpret immediately. Just write what you saw, exactly as it appeared: the snake on the staircase, the broken phone, the child with no face, the elevator that only goes down. After a week or two, patterns will emerge on their own. The unconscious repeats what you ignore. Listen, and it will evolve the symbol into a story you can finally understand. Fourth, cleanse your symbolic environment. Look at your room, your phone wallpaper, your social media, your clothes, your screensavers. What symbols are you letting in every day? What do they tell your nervous system about who you are and what your life means? If your environment is full of noise, chaos, and fragmentation, don't be surprised when your psyche mirrors it. Curate symbols that point you where you want to go. Transformation, clarity, courage, devotion, depth, love, order, play. This isn't superstition. It's hygiene for the mind. Fifth, ritualize. A ritual is simply a symbolic action repeated with intention. Lighting a candle before you write is a symbol. Closing a notebook and placing it under a stone is a symbol. Deleting old photos can be symbolic of death and rebirth. The brain doesn't just know meaning, it makes meaning through repetition. Give your goals symbolic anchors, and the unconscious will start lending its energy to them. Now, let's go deeper. There are 3 layers to almost every symbol: the collective, the cultural, and the personal. The collective is the archetypal core, the serpent as transformation, the sun as life, the ocean as the unconscious. The cultural layer is how your society frames it: the serpent as evil or healing, the ocean as danger or beauty. The personal layer is your unique story: the serpent as the tattoo your brother wore, the ocean as the beach where you fell in love or nearly drowned. If you ignore any of these layers, your interpretation will be incomplete. If you integrate them, you can translate the symbol with precision. Consider the mirror. Collectively, it's self-reflection, consciousness, and the boundary between reality and illusion. Culturally, it might be vanity, self-image, or narcissism. Personally, maybe you broke a mirror before a major life shift, or watched someone you love stare into one with self-hate. When a mirror shows up in your dream or on your feed at the exact moment you're questioning who you are, that's not random. That's a conversation. The question is, will you answer, or will you scroll or think about the labyrinth? It's not just a maze. It's the symbol of the path that always brings you back to yourself. The harder you try to find the shortcut, the more lost you become. But if you surrender to the path and keep walking, you eventually reach the center, where the monster you feared turns out to be the part of you you abandoned. That's why Theseus needs the thread. Not to escape, to remember. Your thread is getting attention. Without it, you're swallowed by distraction. Let's talk about power symbols. The crown, the throne, the sword, the torch. Why do these still move us, even in secular societies? Because authority, sovereignty, clarity, illumination, these are not medieval relics. They are psychological necessities. You need an inner crown, a symbol that reminds you your life is yours to rule. You need a sword, a symbol of discernment to cut through lies, excuses, and self-sabotage. You need a torch, a symbol of illumination to walk through the dark parts of your story without pretending they aren't there. Pick them consciously, or you'll unconsciously obey someone else's. Brands do this expertly. They don't just choose shapes, they choose archetypes: the rebel, the caregiver, the magician, the explorer, the lover, the hero. Each archetype comes with a bundle of symbols, colors, words, and emotional promises. When you buy the product, you don't just get the thing, you get the myth. The question is, what myth are you buying? And is it aligned with the life you want? Let's get practical again. Try this exercise. Choose one symbol you're drawn to right now. Maybe it's the phoenix, the key, the mountain, the anchor, the eye, the lion. Study it across cultures. Notice what resonates and what doesn't. Then define what it means to you. Write a single sentence. For me, this symbol means. Then put it somewhere you'll see it every day. Let your actions slowly match its message. Watch how your decisions begin to organize around it. That's the unconscious aligning with conscious intention. I'll give you another tool: symbolic reframing. Take a problem in your life and assign it a symbol. For example, your anxiety might be a dragon, your procrastination a swamp, your toxic relationship a black mirror. Now give yourself a counter symbol: a sword for courage, a bridge for movement, a light for awareness. Then imagine the interaction, not as fantasy, but as a way to access your inner resources. Your brain loves narratives. Symbols are how it casts the characters. Notice how languages themselves carry hidden symbols. We say, I'm carrying a burden. I'm under pressure. I hit a wall. I'm in the dark. We naturally convert inner states into physical symbols, so flip it. If you're carrying a burden, perform a symbolic act of letting it go. Write the paper burden, put it in a box, burn it, bury it, or drop it in water. Tell your nervous system the story is changing. Rituals make the abstract concrete. That's how you turn insight into transformation. And don't underestimate silence. Silence is symbolic too. It's the space where meaning gathers. In music, the pause can be more powerful than the note. In conversation, the unspoken says more than the words. In therapy, what someone avoids is often the symbol that matters most. Pay attention to absences. The symbol that never appears might be the one you're avoiding. Let me leave you with this: you are already living inside a myth. Whether it's the hero's journey, the exile, the seeker, the martyr, the healer, the teacher, there's a symbolic script running in the background. The question isn't, am I influenced by symbols? The question is, which symbols are shaping me, and did I choose them? When you master the hidden language of symbols, you stop being a passive character and start becoming the author. So tell me, what symbol keeps showing up in your life lately, on your screen, in your dreams, in your conversations? What do you think it's trying to tell you? Share it in the comments, and let's decode it together. And if this journey into the invisible architecture of your mind opened something for you, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and keep walking with me into the deep places where your psychology, your story, and your symbols meet. Your unconscious is already speaking. Now, it's your turn to answer.